But here we go. We're going to offend people. Downfall of masculinity. This is something that I have been extremely passionate about for years now, and I think it's gotten worse and worse and worse. This is something that's kind of went hand in hand with really how the feminist movement has kind of adapted. I want to just make a quick disclaimer to everybody watching. I'm going to give you a lot of generalities. I'm going to give you a lot of things that are just general things that I see in society. This does not mean that I am talking about any group of people, whether it's men, women, or anybody else. It's 100% of the group. That's never the case. There are always outliers, and if it's 51%, it's the majority. Please don't take offense at my generalities. But I spoke to many people about this over the last week or so when I've been thinking about doing this. And what triggered all this was a conversation with a mentor and somebody that I consider friendly with, Patrick Bet-David. He told me basically to stop limiting conversation that I want to have with people. And this was something that's really weighed on my heart. And I didn't want to offend too many people. But here we go. Masculinity. I have points here, and I've talked to several people on them. And I wanted to kind of get some structure to what we're going to talk about, because I want to make sure that we're talking on the right topics to the right people and really focusing on what I think is wrong in society right now. I'm going to give you a quote that I keep hearing from Jordan Peterson. A weak man is a dangerous man. He says it all the time. He talks about weakness in men and downfall of masculinity and how being a masculine, manly man has really just dwindled in society. And this is Western culture. In a lot of Europe and a lot of Asia, in a lot of the Middle East, Africa, manliness is still very much looked upon as positive. One really funny example somebody gave me yesterday, one of my staff at Aspire Rejuvenation Clinic, they said, have you looked at the difference between the advertisements for the military? There's an Army advertisement, and it's a cartoon, and it's very soft and loving, and people hugging and things like that. And then you go to the complete polar opposite, which is a Russian Spetsnaz, I think, commercial. And I mean, the polarizing difference between these two commercials, it's a soft, loving military, woman going hugging her child. That's great. It's beautiful. So that's a wonderful thing to show. For the military, I don't really know where it fits. But the Russian one, it's these young men, these young boys, probably 18 to 22, going through it. They're going through obstacle courses. They're shooting things. They're shooting targets. They're jumping out of helicopters. And basically the whole premise of this is you want to be a tougher, more masculine person. Come join the military in Russia. Come join Spetsnaz and show what you're really about. But that's a crazy difference in what American culture has really gone to. I was just having a conversation this morning, about abuse. So we're going to talk about a sensitive subject, domestic abuse. I was a police officer for 12 years. I would say that 90% of the calls that I went on as a police officer were domestic related. So these are husband, wives, boyfriend, girlfriends, boyfriend, boyfriend, girlfriend, girlfriend, whatever the demographic was. Domestic violence, domestic abuse, domestic disputes, all different things, huge. They are extremely common. It is not something that is really dealt with in a law enforcement fashion very well. A lot of times it's a little report, this and that, and they're back at it the next day. I would say the repeat calls from the same couples were, I'd see couples sometimes 3-4 times a week. I'd learn their names. I would literally know them by first and last name. I didn't even need to ask their date of birth anymore because we saw them. It's such a common occurrence. In 12 years of law enforcement, these domestic abusers, they were never really hyper-masculine men, in my opinion. Now, if you go into what toxic masculinity is and what masculine men have been really demonized to be nowadays, it's all negative. Masculinity is not toxic. It's never been toxic, and men should be masculine because that is literally in our DNA. We are testosterone-filled humans, and we are extremely different than women for a very specific purpose. The two sexes, no matter what anybody wants to argue on, they're very different. They're not just different chemically. They're not just different socially. They're different historically. we have very different skills. For example, when you look at the commercials that I mentioned earlier, the Russian one compared to the American one, the American one had a female soldier, a mother, who was embracing her daughter coming back from basic training or something like that, something to that extent. The Russian one, complete polar opposite, there wasn't a single woman in there. It was all men. It was all young men, shaved heads, tough, gruff-looking guys. Where's the difference there, and why is that important? If you look at how different men and women are physically stronger in general. And again, please don't take offense. There are some badass women out there, MMA fighters, UFC fighters. I don't want to get in the ring with you. I don't want to get in the octagon with you. You'll probably knock me out. Dead serious, and I'm a very large man, 240 pounds, 6'3". I will have to lay on top of you to make sure you don't elbow me in the face or something and knock me out. So these generalities, men are in general larger, stronger, faster than women. You can see it, it's obvious. Put a NBA player, put a male soccer player in a female team in a women's team, they're going to dominate. That's just physicality of it. When you see the difference between men and women on what they're good at, so that military example, men are going to be better soldiers. That's just what they are better at. There's nothing wrong with this kind of generalization of the sexes because we are good at different things. Now, let's go to where females are good. I prefer women leading in my company. So if you go into my office, Aspire Rejuvenation Clinic, and you see all my top managers, and you see all the people that are leading in my medical clinics, and even people that are running our social media, our YouTube channel, everything that's going on, they're all women. These are all women because, in my opinion, and what I've seen, women are more organized. Women have a better way of dealing with and adapting with certain environments and certain things. People are almost feminizing what men should be. You're really taking away what is good about being a man. And I'll tell you right now, I don't care if any women wants to argue, and if you want to, please argue in the comments. I will happily argue with you all day. Most women do not want a feminine man. I'm going to say 99.9% of women do not want a feminine man who is weaker mentally, physically, whatever, than them, okay? Every woman that I talk to that's single, they are looking for somebody who is masculine. They're looking for somebody who is quote-unquote alpha. Again, another term that gets thrown around that I think is a strange term, the whole alpha male perspective. We live in a society with way too many people where, what is really an alpha male? Where does the alpha male come from? Where are they an alpha male? Are they an alpha male in their business? Are they an alpha male in that specific office they work in? Are they an alpha male in their family? Or are they an alpha male in society? All different things. I can be an alpha in my household. I can be the alpha male in my household, but as soon as I get to work, I go down the totem pole because there's other alphas above me. Maybe I'm down here at work, but I'm up here at home. Or vice versa. Are you an alpha in the gym? See that all the time. You see these big burly guys in the gym, and then maybe they go home and they're alpha by their women. And now don't get that twisted, not saying there's not alpha females, because there are. My wife is an alpha female. The only way that she was able to really truly blossom in herself was to pair with somebody who she considered to be an alpha male, someone who was very masculine, who had masculine qualities she was looking for, more traditional masculine qualities. She found that in me. And she laughs about it, and she's like, this is why my relationships never worked before, because I ate them alive. That's what she literally has told me. She's like, I have literally ate every boyfriend alive that I ever had. She's like, none of them could handle me because I'm a hyper alpha female, and I dominated all these men, and they always ended up cowering to me and being a beta to me. She's like, can't have it. There are gender roles for a reason, and I don't want people to get upset about that and saying, well, men and women should be treated the same. Yes, they should. They should be treated the same in the workplace. The example I gave you, the highest paid people in my company right now are all women. So we're talking about pay gaps, things like that, which is what the feminist movement really has started on. They wanted fairness. They wanted that equality when it came to the workplace, when it came to voting, when it came to what to say, how to say, what they could do, how they could dress. That kind of feminism, applaud. I love it. That's great. I want you to be equal. And I want women getting out in the workplace if they want to. I want women doing these things. These are very important. My wife loves to work. If I told her I didn't want her to work and she was to stay at home and do household work, she would kill me. 100%. We would be in a fight the first day. It couldn't happen. I applaud that feminist mindset. Where it goes awry in my head is when feminists start demonizing what men are. When it turns into a negative connotation and they start attacking men for being manly and for being masculine and for being men, for having these qualities of being men. Men are protectors. Men are providers. This is historic. This is from the dawn of humanity. This is what has happened. That's how we were bred. That's how we were born. This is what has been for generations. Can women do what men can? Yes, absolutely. They can. Can they do it to the same capacity? Not always. Can men also do what women do? Yes. Can they do it as well? Not always. We're not going to go into full generalities, but we are good at different things for a reason. One of my favorite quotes, and I'm going to quote this: hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. And weak men create hard times. That sticks with me every single day, and I read it almost every single day. It was actually one of the backgrounds of my phone. What does that mean to me in masculinity, in what is going on in current culture? With hard times. Russia's going through hard times, right? They put out that commercial. They're breeding strong, strong men. Okay, we're talking about geopolitical stuff now. We don't need to get too far into it. But those hard times, what do they call the greatest generation? The generation that was born in World War I and World War II. Some of you watching may have grandparents, great-grandparents that fought in these wars. And those were hard times in America. You know, we had a little bit of a pickup in the Roaring '20s. And then what happened? World War II. And then you had the Great Depression. These are times, hard times that created hard men and hard women. So what happened? The country flourished. That's what happened, because those hardened individuals learned they had to work harder, they had to provide more, they had to do whatever they could to survive. So that survivor mentality, that creates good times because they work harder, they progress, and they want their children to have better times. My family all immigrated from former Yugoslavia, communist country. My family came here to give us better times. I'm first generation American, so I still take some of that from the old days, but I'm worried about my children. You know, my future generations of children, they're going to grow up in very good times. They have food, they have shelter, they're not under a communist regime, they're not struggling to get there, which is why you see all these people, you see these rich kids grow up with these luxuries. And what do you see with them? They're depressed, right? You see depression, you see suicide. So in the West, I'm talking about the United States, talking about modern culture, and this is trickling into Europe as well because they're becoming a little more westernized, they're becoming a little more modernized. They're, picking up where America was maybe a decade or two ago. But in America right now, what do you have? You have everything at your fingertips. You have dating at your fingertips. You have food, order it. Good to go. Oh, you can't find a woman or you can't find a date today? What do you have? Pornhub. There you go. Go ahead, get one off because you get to watch some women. It wasn't like that always. I grew up before really the internet age started to progress. I didn't have a cell phone growing up. I had to go search for a girlfriend. I had to go ride my bicycle for my first girlfriend. I had to go find her at a park. I think that's where we met. What I'm trying to get at is that these times right now are breeding a weakened version of what men should be because everything is so good. Everything is so easy. You have the information highway. You go on Google, you can find anything you want. You go on YouTube, you can find any video you want. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can go down a rabbit hole and learn anything you want to learn. You can find any topic. You can find 20 other videos on masculinity, toxic masculinity, what's going on in society, this exact same thing I'm talking about. Patrick Bet-David just made one a month ago. I think I just saw two other very high-profile, high influencers that just made videos just like this, and they may cascade into this video. So everything is at your fingertips, but what does that do to you? You're not seeking it. You're not having to earn it. You're not having to earn this knowledge. You're not having to go earn that woman. You're not having to go earn that orgasm. I can go down a rabbit hole on masturbation and pornography use, and I may kind of get into that a little later in the video, but that ease makes everything harder in your future. You have to have that struggle. So that quote, the last part, good times create weak men. That's where we are right now in this country. And there are no men out there, not going to say no, there are some out there that are being good examples to their children, to the younger generations, saying it's okay to struggle. Weak men create hard times. That's what's happening. This country is going into a hard time. We are going into a sort of a depression, economically, financially. Our military can't recruit. Half the people can't even pass a test. Half the people can't pass a psych. Why? Because of that quote. That's what's happening right now. One of my favorite movies, there was a great quote that said, there's a reason why aristocrats developed weak chins. Soft. Never been punched in the face. If anybody on here watching never been punched in the face, I know a lot of people that haven't. I think everybody one time in their life should be punched in the face, hard as they can. Maybe not by somebody who's like a professional fighter so you don't die or you don't break your jaw, but getting punched in the face was one of the most influential things in my childhood when I got in my first fight where I really got punched. Not like wrestling around and, little kid stuff. I'm talking about truly somebody balling up their fist and punching me right in the face. That'll wake you up. That'll wake you up and you don't want it to happen again. So what do you learn? You learn that that's a pain and that's something that you don't want to experience again. Why do aristocrats develop weak chins? Because they have people fight for them. Because they have people that struggle for them. And if anybody knows that movie, it's called The Kingsman, the original one, the first one. One of my favorite movies. It's like kind of like a new age James Bond. Wonderful, wonderful cast, wonderful premise, and it talks about masculinity in a really awesome way. It's taking place in the UK, where again, these problems are the same problems. People aren't struggling the way they need to be struggling. I say that in the nicest way. You should be struggling. If everything is easy for you right now, if you're watching this video and everything is easy for you throughout your day, your job is easy, the way you get home is easy, if everything is simple and easy, you are not going to progress. You have to go through struggles to progress in life. You have to go through some hardship. You have to go through something that's going to make you be more than what you are right now. If everything is given to you, you're going to be like that rich kid who drives a Ferrari from age 16. That Ferrari doesn't mean anything anymore. You can buy 100 of them. Now, for somebody maybe like me, I didn't grow up with a Ferrari. My first car was a 1989 Honda CRX that I think was $1,200. So that was my first car. It was the baddest car I ever seen in my life. That was my first car. I actually got it at 15 years old. I drove it illegally for a year. Got pulled over all the time. Cops knew my parents, so I was okay. But those people that are growing up with that, everything given to them, that mentality, everybody here in America that has everything given to them, everything is easy, you're not progressing for a reason, and you're depressed for the very same reason. Male role models, something that I never had growing up. I'll tell you a little story. My father left our family when I was maybe 8, 9, 10 years old, somewhere in that range. I don't actually remember. I'd have to ask my mom about it. So I didn't grow up with true father figures. The second man that was in my life was my mother's boyfriend. That male role model, he was a Marine, worked out, first person I ever seen to lift weights. He's the one that actually got me interested in lifting weights. That ended tragically when he killed himself. I was maybe 14, 15. A lot of people don't know this story. I don't put this stuff out there. So the two people that should have been my male role models were tragically torn out of my life when I was a young person, okay? So having male role models, I was lucky that, I had friends. We lived on a cul-de-sac. I had friends, and I was able to look up to my friends' fathers for those role models, and I also used things like, magazines, television shows, things where I could try to find that male influence that I needed in my life. What a mother can do for her son is extremely important. Teach him compassion. I was raised by women, all of them. My grandmother, my aunt, my mother. I feel like I learned a lot of compassion from them. I feel like I learned how to speak to women more respectfully. I feel like I learned how to communicate better. A lot of these tendencies that I have where maybe I can, better relate to how a woman, thinks and acts and wants, where a lot of men maybe don't have that. Maybe they don't have that female influence in their life. But I didn't have a male role model. And I think that was detrimental for me until I got into law enforcement when I was about 21, 22 years old. That's when I went to police academy. I found more male role models. I was able to see what men really did and looked like. So that was my first experience where, I went through hardship. So I broke my toe right before I went to police academy. And I was like, man, I'm not going to be able to go through police academy now. I'm not going to be able to do this because I have a broken toe. And one of the instructors, when you're first getting in, he says, well, you can walk. He's like, if you can walk, you can run. He's like, it's just pain. It's going to hurt, but you can still do it. He's like, you're faster than you think. He's like, you're just going to have to go through a little bit of pain to get through that. And that really sat in my gut. And I'm like, okay, shit, let's do it. Let's go for it. And I beat my personal record with a broken toe. I did, some other crazy stuff through law enforcement where I worked through some crazy injuries. I've, when I got into my second police department here in Florida, I nearly tore my Achilles on a leg press. Very stupid. Doing some calf presses and I nearly tore it. And I was going through post-academy, which is, kind of getting into the introduction of your law enforcement career in a new agency. And I had, I think, 12 stitches on the back of my heel. It's actually this left leg. 12 stitches, and every day we ran. Mile and a half, 3 miles, 5 miles. And every day I came home to my then wife, and I emptied my boot out with blood every day. Prolonged the healing process. It probably took me 4 or 5 months to heal from that. Should have taken maybe 4 weeks, 6 weeks, but I kept tearing the stitches. Kept tearing the stitches because I had two options. One option was to quit. The other option was to go through the pain. What's the worst that can happen? My leg's not going to fall off. I'm going to bleed a little bit. I'm not going to heal as fast, but if I quit right now, I don't have a job. That's the struggle. Could I have rested back on my laurels and been like, oh man, maybe I could ask my family for help and maybe I'll do it next time. I'll wait till I heal. Yes, I could have done that and it would have been okay. My family owns a restaurant and bar in Ohio. I could have left there and went and worked there and tried again next year. Not in me. It's not in my character. It's not in who I want to be as a person. That struggle is what made me progress into where I am now. We grew up with nothing. I went into law enforcement and I worked my way into that career. I struggled my way into it. Maybe shouldn't have been there if I would have quit, right? I left law enforcement. I started businesses, risked everything, went nearly 6 figures in debt and put my entire life savings into a business. Here I am now. I have dozens of employees. I have multiple locations for my businesses. We're opening more businesses and more modalities. Would any of that happen if I would have quit and if I wouldn't have struggled? No. The answer is 100% no. So that is what I mean by the struggle. That's what I mean, what people need to understand. And this is men and women. We're not just talking about masculinity. We're talking about femininity too. Women struggle just like men do. It's just in a different way. We're going to talk about somebody who is very controversial nowadays, and I think it's really funny how needed he is. And he's become a role model. We were just talking about men needing role models, how I had to find my own. Andrew Tate has become a role model. Why is he a role model? He's very arrogant. I like some of the things he says, but he's very arrogant. He's very forward with his thinking. And I'm going to say this, and if I ever speak to him in person or if he ever comes on my podcast or we ever get to interact, I will find out if I'm right or not. I think what he's doing on social media and all the videos, I think it's a front. I think that he is not really that person 24 hours a day. I think it's his character. I think that's the character that he portrays to put a point across, which is needed. He has become somebody who is a voice for hyper-masculinity. Not toxic masculinity, hyper-masculinity. And he has so many fans, and he's the most Googled person on the planet in 2022. You can look that up. He's legitimately the most Googled person on the planet in 2022 for a reason, because men are seeking something different. I think men and young boys are starting to wake up and see that all of the people that are really, truly successful in life, everybody that's really, truly doing something in life that they maybe emulate, they're all masculine. They all have masculine qualities, you know? So maybe this age where masculinity has been demonized as a negative thing, it's not negative. It's positive. Men should be masculine. Men should be filled with testosterone. Men should be strong. Men should be very, not aggressive in a negative way, but able to be aggressive, able to be dangerous. That is what makes a man a man. Like I was mentioning earlier with domestic violence and domestic abuse, those men that are doing those abuses, they're usually not hypermasculine. They're usually very insecure, because a masculine man is always going to be a protector. An alpha, a male who is alpha, is always going to be a protector for those around him, for children, for women, for their women, for anybody. Anybody who is weak mentally, physically, physiologically, anybody who is weak is going to always try to dominate people because they have that insecurity in them. For somebody like my wife, if she gets in a relationship and she's in a committed relationship with somebody and that man sees that he's being dominated, right? What is that man going to do? He's not going to feel right because it's not a natural occurrence in his mind. Mentally, biology, all of it does not dictate where a man gets dominated by a female in that way. So how is that man going to establish his dominance? He can get abusive. He can start getting verbally abusive. He can start getting physically abusive. And he can start trying to dominate in that way because he literally can't dominate in any other way because he is not equipped as a masculine male, as a true male who can be an alpha in his household or in any other setting. So most of the men that you see that are abusing, it's not this toxic masculinity moniker. It's not masculine men that are doing this. It's weak men. It's men without role models. It's men who are unable to actually understand who they are and understand where their place is in the world. That's what's bothering me. I see so many men out there that are depressed. I see so many men out there that are having all of these problems in society. Suicide rates. Do you know that the suicide rate for men over women is 7 to 10 times greater? Why? Why is that happening? I can go into a chemical imbalance thing, but let's just go with societal. Why is that happening with men? Why is there so high prevalence of a suicide rate in men over women? It's because men's identity, male identity, masculine identity has been attacked for decades at this point. So with that being attacked, men don't know who they are. Men don't know how they can behave because society is telling them you can't be manly. Society is telling them you can't be masculine. So if they listen to society, everything inside of them, their soul, their body, their mentality, their hormones, everything is telling them be masculine. Everything is telling them be a man. But society is telling them if you act that way, you're wrong. Now you have a fight. Where's that internal battle? And now people are looking at men like Andrew Tate who are saying it's okay to be masculine. Does he say it in a little bit of a arrogant way sometimes? Yeah, maybe. Does he say it in a way where maybe some women don't appreciate the way that he verbalizes some things? Yeah, maybe. Do some men dislike him? Maybe. But I'm venturing to guess that even men that dislike him probably actually like him. Just a little bit. They might actually like what he says. But something in their head, that little birdie on their shoulder, which is society, which is societal norms, which is, you know, what everybody else is talking about in media, they're saying that person's wrong. They're saying Andrew Tate is wrong. Andrew Tate can't act like that because men and women should be equal. Okay, what does equality mean? Because men and women aren't equal in really anything when it comes to their physiology, their biology, their mannerisms, their emotions, the way they feel emotions. None of it is correlated. Men and women are very different sides of the spectrum. They're yin and yang. Do they go together? Absolutely. They go together very well. But they are opposites for a reason, because they complement each other. There are reasons why we are different, and that's what needs to be understood. There should be equality with men and women when it comes to voting, making money, equal pay, equal rights, all of that. Love it. Fantastic. But when it comes to how society views you, it's not equal. Men and women are different. The faster that we understand this, the better our society is going to behave. Women should be women. Men should be men. You should be masculine. You should be feminine. That's how this works. And if you embrace that, and if you stop trying to force masculinity on women and femininity on men, people will stop being so confused. People will stop trying to be something they're not. So all you men out there that are looking at this and you're seeing society bearing down on you and telling you shouldn't be masculine, you shouldn't be this, everything that you're doing is toxic. It's not. Fight back on it. Because one, society in general, some people that want to yell about it, people are going to comment on this video. They're going to get very negative towards me on this video, and that's okay. Don't be afraid to be yourself in public. And let me tell you something, men, once you turn this corner and once you start realizing that your masculine qualities are actually what women want and actually what society needs, the more successful you're going to be. The more successful you're going to be in business, in life, in relationships, because you are going to be able to truly be yourself. That's who you are. Why do women hate Andrew Tate? This was a really good question. And I have staff, actually. I have female staff that do not like him. And I had the conversation and said, why don't you like Andrew Tate? Tell me why you don't like him. Oh, he's arrogant and he's chauvinist. What's the word? They said toxic masculinity too, but basically misogynist. That's what it is. I have Jade over here that's feeding me stuff. Thank you, Jade. So he's a misogynist. Why? Why is he a misogynist? And I showed some videos about it, and he talks about gender roles, and he talks about some things. And again, listen, Andrew Tate is extremely divisive, and he does it on purpose, I think. I think he's doing this to get views, to get likes. I think he's doing this for a purpose, for a larger purpose. I think he has a larger purpose in life to show people that it's okay to be masculine. If I'm right and that's his prerogative, I applaud him. I cannot wait to meet him in person. I want to talk to him. I will go to Romania. I will fly there myself, and I will go and hang out with him and have a cigar. It'll be fantastic. If this is truly his personality, I think there's some other things that maybe he needs to look at, talk about. I think, if this is truly his personality, this is truly his view on everything, and this is the real Andrew Tate that we see in all these videos where he kind of gets a little, controversial in his statements, I think what will solve that for him is finding the right woman. Again, yin and yang, complement each other. When you have a man who is being masculine like that, all it takes is one woman to bring it in, soften those lines, and then he understands. Then he'll maybe soften up a little bit. So, Andrew Tate maybe needs a wife. Maybe that's what's going to soften him up a little bit. Emotional differences between men and women. We've talked about this. I want to touch on something very quickly in relationships. And I've talked about this on other occasions, not on video. Pornography with men and women, mostly men. I'm just going to say it straight out. Stop habitually watching pornography. Stop habitually jerking off. I don't know how to say it. We can say masturbating. Let's say stop masturbating. Stop jerking off all day. It sounds really bad when I say it that way. It's kind of crude, and I don't like to be that way. But there is a severe problem with the way that men are behaving towards women because they feel like it's so easy to get that nut off, right? They can get their nut off anytime. All they got to do is log on to my Pornhub, go in the bathroom or go in the bedroom and you're done. 3 seconds. Probably the same way that it happens with your woman at home whenever she gives you any. 3 seconds. Done. Why is that so important? Your body, men, your masculine body, if you teach it that that is something that can always be attained, that no matter what happens in life, that you can always get your nut off, right? You can always go home and watch Pornhub. You stop trying. Tough times, right? Tough times. It's tough to go out in public and go and chase a woman. Not chase them literally, but go and chase a woman. Try to gain her attention. I mean, let's be honest. We're just going to say it how it is. You want to have sex with that woman, right? Of course you do. That's what you're there for. You want to have sex with them. You're attracted to them. There's something primal inside you that says, whoa, that woman is attractive to me and I want to have sex with them. I want them to make babies. I know that, right now there's a lot of casual sex happening. But if you break it down to a real chemical desire on what your body is doing, your body is saying that is a desirable female and I need to make babies with that female. That's what your body's telling you. Those are pheromones, those are connections, everything. So if you are habitually on Pornhub, jerking off, and you think that is something that is not going to affect your mentality and the way that you behave, you are absolutely wrong. Because you are then going to teach your body, it's okay. I don't have to go chase women. I don't have to go ask for dates. I don't have to go do what I had to do when I was younger, not even when I was older. Go out and meet a woman and ask her on a date. That's hard. And the reason it's hard is because people are so used to not having rejection anymore. We're in good times, right? Good times creating weakness. This is part of it. This creates weakness in your mentality because you're not able to go out there and actually have a conversation, not able to go out there and you're not approaching these women and trying to put your best foot forward and learning. And that's what women want, guys. I don't know if you realize it. Women want somebody. Women want a man to go out there and they want you to fumble. They want you to fumble and ask him to go out and they want you to trip over your own shoe and giggle stupidly and blush and they want to see all that because it's real. It's real. Women are missing this whole thing, this whole dating scene, this whole swipe left, swipe right. It's played out. They want to go back to a traditional way of finding a true man or mate or just somebody to hang out with. So if you are constantly on Pornhub, if you are constantly getting that visual stimulation, you are changing your brain chemistry and you are changing the way that you look and perceive women. It's not right. It's not natural. And you will change the way that your dopamine response is for a woman. So if you are constantly on Pornhub and you see all these women, or let's go off porn, let's go on Instagram. It's basically Pornhub with some panties on. I mean, it's ridiculous. So you go on Instagram, you go on OnlyFans, the same shit. They're just, instead of being a porn star that you're never going to meet, it's your next door neighbor. And you're on their OnlyFans and you're looking at their ass all day. That's what it is. But, and I'll target you ladies that may watch this. True men that are looking for a real relationship don't want that. Sorry. If you find it empowering and you really like doing it, great. I applaud you. I hope you make a shitload of money. There's some women out there making a shitload of money on OnlyFans. Congratulations. That's great. I will tell you right now that if I was single, right now, I'm 37 years old. I am not single. If I was single, and a woman that I was interested in had an OnlyFans and had an Instagram page that had her butt and boobs and whole body all over the place, all out there for everybody to see. I'm not saying a bikini pic when you're out in Cancun. I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. When it's all out there, I am immediately not going to be interested in that woman because there's nothing special. To me, this is my opinion. To me, everybody can see that. You're the internet's girlfriend. You're not my girlfriend. You belong to Instagram. You belong to OnlyFans. You belong to anybody who will pay you $5.95 for that monthly subscription to see your ass. Not into it. So women, you want to attract a better man? Stop putting it all out there. Sexiest thing in the world to me is seeing a woman who is dressed, classy, not putting it all out there, not hanging their ass out there, not putting their boobs out there, And listen, dress how you want to dress. What makes you feel comfortable, what makes you feel sexy. But there is a line that you maybe cross that makes it almost inappropriate. And again, this is my opinion, but I know a lot of men that agree with me. I know a lot of men that wouldn't date somebody with an OnlyFans. Take that as a word of advice. Maybe look at how you're spending your time on social media. Maybe posting some more wholesome content. Social media is not supposed to be a search for likes and approval on the internet. It's turned into that. All of social media has. How many likes did I get? Who's liking it? Oh, who looked at my story? Oh, let me follow this person so they follow me back. It's all fake. It's not real. Put out some real content. Put out some real information. Put out things that actually trigger people to have positive reaction to you. If you're just searching constantly, searching for the like, searching for what's going on the internet, what is that doing? Same thing as porn for men. Dopamine. You are now affecting your brain chemistry on how you process dopamine. So men, you're looking at porn. When that beautiful woman walks by you, you're not gonna notice them as much. Because that beautiful woman walking by you is not going to be in a bikini or butt naked. They're not. Sorry. So they're going to walk by you. You're not going to look at them because you're used to seeing everything you want. And women, when you're out in public, but you have an OnlyFans or you have an Instagram, you get 1,000 likes for a picture, right? And you see a man who would be a great match for you, and they're noticing you, but guess what? You're not going to get the dopamine response of you noticing them a lot of times because you're so used to 1,000 people looking at you at all times. That's your dopamine rush. That's your new thing. That's what your brain says that's positive. So that man walking by, that person that maybe your perfect person, you're not going to notice them because it's not going to give you that high that you should be getting. You know, if it does, great. But there's a lot of people that are having these problems. And that's why these relationships are so wishy-washy. That's why these relationships are so easily thrown aside because everybody's looking for the grass is greener. Everybody's looking for more dopamine. Everybody's looking for more of X, Y, Z. Nobody's working for it anymore. It's become too easy. And it's caused weakness in men and women. I want to get into a deep dive. For everybody that doesn't know, I'm the founder and owner of Aspire Rejuvenation Clinic. We're a regenerative and preventive medicine clinic, and we specialize in hormones. We use hormones to help people in a preventive medicine style, in a regenerative medicine style. It works very, very well. We have thousands of patients across the country, multiple locations. We're doing amazing stuff. So that's my background. Also, I am not a doctor. Cue the disclaimer. Tomo's not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. I do have multiple certifications in advanced hormone therapy through WorldLink Medical, through A4M. I have traveled internationally and studied under some of the best doctors out there. So I do have a little bit of knowledge in hormone therapy, in hormones, and how biology works. But again, I'm not a doctor. So take everything that I say with a grain of salt, and please go consult doctors if you ever want to talk about hormone therapy. Is something causing men to be less masculine outside of society? Answer is yes. So this is going to get a little bit of a deep dive. So what's going on in the world right now? Toxic food, toxic water. We're talking about toxic masculinity. This is feminizing men. This is the feminization of men through chemistry, through biology. I don't have a study to cite right in front of me, but I will tell you that our testosterone levels are down over the last 50 years by almost 50% in some areas, specifically in the United States. So what's causing it? What's causing all of these weird things to happen? Why, if you look at younger men today, and it's not going to be all of them, again, I'm generalizing everybody, so don't freak out. Men are becoming smaller. They are. They're becoming weaker. I'm not saying that anecdotally. They are literally becoming weaker. There's a study just came out. The bench press average and the squat average of men has gone down, I think it's like 20% from like the 70s. Just read the study this morning. So testosterone levels are down. The strength of men are down. Suicide rates are up. Mental health problems in men, drug abuse, habitual pornography, usage all up. What's happening? What's going on? Phytoestrogens in the environment. Phytoestrogens are basically items that act like estrogens that are introduced in your body, and they're coming from plastics, they're coming from certain foods, they're coming from processed foods. There is a great book. I highly suggest every man reads it because it is extremely important. Women read it as well because it's also causing estrogen dominance in women. It is called Rejuvenation. I do not have the author's name offhand, but we'll post it below so you guys can look at that. And Rejuvenation, amazing book. It talks about how all of the phytoestrogens in our environment are actually lowering men's testosterone, causing young women to basically go into puberty faster because it's causing all these estrogenic effects. And it's also causing a myriad of mental health issues all throughout society. So, quick breakdown. Women, estrogen and progesterone, they're dominant sex hormones. Men, testosterone, dominant sex hormone. So if you take those things away, or if you start altering these things in men and women, what's going to happen is chaos. You can't function as a man without testosterone. It'll cause you not only physical damage, it'll cause you mental damage. So you can actually become more depressed, more anxious, suicidal with no testosterone as a man. Women, who also have testosterone, by the way, at a very smaller amount. But women, once you start diminishing estrogen, progesterone, testosterone levels, women start having problems. And we have a perfect example of this that every single woman knows about, called menopause. If anybody ever had a family member or themselves went through menopause and you were not on certain hormone therapies to help ease the effects of what menopause does, you probably noticed that there was something very, very wrong with the way that you acted emotionally, your mental health, the way your physical body started to change and behave. So that is the perfect example of what happens when hormones are manipulated to a point or affected to a point. Dr. Neil Rouzier from WorldLink Medical, and I'm quoting him saying this, says, every single woman going into pre, peri, and postmenopausal phase of their life needs to be on 3 major hormones, and that is progesterone, estradiol, testosterone, and he says some will need thyroid as well. Thyroid therapy is becoming more and more popular again because people's thyroids are being affected by all the chemicals in the environment. So let's go back to what is causing men to be less masculine. If you have the entire environment fighting against you and causing you to literally have lower testosterone, be a weaker version of what you are, and cause you mental distress and damage, no wonder we have a severe problem of masculinity in this country. And this is not everybody. There's some very masculine men. Go look at, our people in the armed forces. Go look at some of the law enforcement officers out there, the firefighters. America has some heavy hitters. We have some very masculine men out there that are really doing awesome things. But when your entire environment is fighting against you and causing you to have lower testosterone, causing you to have other hormonal issues, which then cascades into physical and emotional and mental issues, and then you have society also telling you that it's bad to be a man, you have a very losing formula here, men in society, in America. Society's telling you can't be a man. Your environment is literally killing what makes you a man. You're kind of getting hit from both sides. So what do? You have to maximize what you can to make sure that those things don't affect you to a certain point. I will tell this to parents right now. If you have young boys, be very, very careful what you are giving them. Be very, very careful of where your water supply is coming from. Tap water doesn't work, guys. I'm sorry. Tap water is filled with fluoride. Fluoride is a neurotoxin. Fluoride is also affecting hormones in millions, billions of people. Your tap water is not safe. Your tap water also has a ton of other heavy metals and other issues that are going to cause your child damage. Your food supply. Stay away from seed oils. All of these different products. Stay into natural foods, whole natural foods. Be careful of pesticides as well, because you can go buy vegetables and they will be riddled with pesticides. Stay away from GMOs, anything is genetically modified. All of these food items and water items, when you are a child, is going to affect your hormones. So no wonder we have a plethora of suicide rate in younger and younger males. You know what I mean? And males are getting affected more so than females. And that is scientifically coming from studies. So these are real studies that are coming out. Men are being more affected by the environment than women are because women's dominant hormones are estrogens. And everything in the environment and phytoestrogens are able to actually, not affect women in those ways. So, but in men, you introduce an influx of estrogen from a very early age, you now have a man or a boy who's not going through puberty correctly, who now has a significantly lower testosterone than they should at early ages, so they're not developing. And it's not just physically. Testosterone is not just muscles. Testosterone is not just the way the body grows. It's your mind. If you are deprived of your main hormone as a man, as a boy, going into manhood, if you're deprived of that hormone from a young age, you're not going to be the person you should have been. So parents, pay attention to the environment around you. Pay attention to what your kids are consuming. Pay attention to what your kids are maybe getting exposed to. I'm not just talking about food and water. I'm talking about what they see on these. There's nothing that drives me more insane than watching a small child like this in front of a screen for hours. Can't handle it. These kids need stimulation. These kids need socialization. So it's going to be very important for these generations coming up. Parenting is going to be crucial. You have to get your children into a good place so they can develop properly, so they can be better men and women into adulthood. Women, anybody that is a young woman or that is a young girl going through puberty, parents, keep them away from birth control, please. And I will get all the shit in the world from gynecologists and from the medical health community. Oh, well, they're going to get pregnant, this and that. Bullshit. Done with it. I'm over the conversation of they need to be on birth control. Women ovulate in a very specific cycle. Women, okay, you get a period, you ovulate, happens every month as long as you're healthy and everything's functioning well. Your ovulation cycle is very easily tracked, which means you can get pregnant in this window, okay? Abstain from sex during that window, you won't get pregnant. It's that simple. Also, there's something called condoms. I don't know where the hell that went out the window, but there's still condoms out there. Also protects you from STDs. Also running rampant right now. So women, birth control. What are you doing at an early age? You get your first period. You go to the doctor. I have cramps, this and that. What does the doctor do? Throws you birth control immediately. So you're not even a developed adult yet. You're not even hormonally developed to any extent. And you are going to now alter what that girl's hormones are doing so she can't properly develop. That's going to cause fertility issues. That's going to cause mental health issues. That's going to cause a myriad of problems going into adulthood. And I know because I see these people coming into my clinic. And they're coming in and they're in their mid to late 20s, maybe early 30s. They have fertility issues. They have mental health issues. They have different problems with their uterus, with their vaginal wall, with everything. Why are these problems arising to such a high extent? These are not normal things. Women going into menopause at a very early age, late 20s, early 30s. Multiple women needing hysterectomies. Why is this happening? It's because you are messing with what it was supposed to be happening chemically and hormonally in that woman's body, in that girl's body. So parents, birth control, keep it away from them. Teach them how to properly have safe sex measures. Introducing chemicals and introducing, and by the way, there's not bioidentical. There's only one bioidentical birth control pill out there that I know of. There might be two. But all of these are not bioidentical hormones you're introducing. They're progestins, they're compounded and chemical estrogens that are made in a lab. So not only are you introducing a chemical that is not a natural chemical in their body, you're doing it at a time when they need to actually experience these things. They need to grow as a woman. They need those chemicals and those hormones in their brain to develop as the person they should be. Stop disrupting that. It's causing havoc in society and people's mental health. I'm gonna leave off. I'm gonna kind of end it here, okay? And talk about both men and women. and talk about being a better person for yourself and talk about being more of what you're supposed to be. Women, you're supposed to be feminine. Men, you're supposed to be masculine. That's not everybody. That's a generality, okay? If it's more than 51%, then I'm right, which means I'm probably right, okay? So lean into what you really truly are. Don't fight it. Stop fighting who you're really supposed to be. Stop fighting what you're really meant to be. You know, we're not talking about gender identity or gender ideology or anything like that. I can care less. Okay, I'm very open on what I am politically. I'm a very conservative person, but I'm also kind of more libertarian. I don't care what anybody does. Just don't bother me. Don't try to force ideology on me. Do whatever you want. I don't care. That's my mentality. But when it comes to being yourself, I want to leave you off with a couple tips of what really helps me in being a better person, being a better provider, being a better businessman, being a better human. Leaning into your gifts. I want everybody in here to lean into what you're really truly gifted as. So if you're really, really good at basketball, go play basketball. Your parents don't like it, I don't care. Go play basketball because that's your gift. You love it for a reason and you're good at it for a reason. If you're really, really good with computers and IT, go lean into that. Go and find every school you possibly can and lean into it. Bodybuilders, if you have a physique, I was just messaging with Logan Franklin this morning and he sent me a video. Logan Franklin is a top level IFBB pro Olympian. The guy's amazing. He looks like a new age Arnold Schwarzenegger. Absolutely crazy. And he sent me a video and I'm like, dude, you leaning into your gift is the best thing you could ever do because I can never look like that. And I want to look like Logan Franklin. I want his physique, but I know I can never look like that. And that's okay. He needs to lean into his gift and I'm leaning into mine. My gift, in my opinion, entrepreneurship, building company culture, building more businesses, helping people in ways of business, in ways of health and hormones and lifestyle. This is what I love to do, and I'm moved to do it. So I feel this is my gift. Will I discover other gifts, and maybe this was not really truly my gift? Maybe. But when I tell you to lean into your gift, that's what's going to make you discover your purpose. It's what's going to make you discover what you're meant to do for yourself, for your family, and for society, and you're going to be successful at it. You know, that doesn't mean that you skip everything else. I've had to work some shitty jobs to get to where I am. I loved my law enforcement career for certain reasons, but that was a shitty job for me. I wasn't equipped mentally to do that job the way that I really needed to. I had a lot of PTSD from that. I had a lot of issues mentally. Seeing the things that I saw, it hurt me. You know, I may have a little bit of empath in me or something like that where, you know, my empathy towards these people, I took it home. And it probably ruined my first marriage, honestly. You know, so I took it home and it was very harmful to my psyche, you know, to the point where, like I said, I had very bad PTSD. I had some depressive bouts. I've had to go see counselors. I've had to speak to people. That job maybe wasn't meant for me, but it progressed me to where I am now. So what did I say about suffering in the early part of this video? You have to suffer to get to where you need to be. So you may have to go through some shit. You may have to suffer a little bit to find that gift and then be able to lean on it. Don't be afraid of the hard work, but make sure you embrace what you're gifted at so you can better your family and society. 2 more points. One is a very quick one. Never sacrifice your integrity, ever, for any amount of success, because that's the last thing you have. I know a lot of people, and I've seen a lot of people, and I've done business with people that have sacrificed their integrity to make a little bit of money. And it could be $100, it could be $100 million, doesn't matter. Don't ever sacrifice your integrity because that money lasts this long. Your life's long, you know. God willing, you live to 80, 90 years old. I hope you do. I hope everybody watching does. So you live that long. If you sacrifice your integrity, you're going to be a very lonely person in the long run. Always do the right things for the right reason and make sure that you never are harming people to get yourself ahead. People that do that, they may end up ahead in the bank account, but in here and up here, they're not ahead. They're not going to be happy people. They know they did that. Your mind is not meant to do that. You're not meant to be a harmful person to society, to other people. The last part, that I want to say, and I want every single one of you to get pissed off at what I say right here. Everything's your fault. I'll say it again. Everything in your life that you're struggling with right now is your fault. Good? You done being mad? Awesome. So everything is your fault because you control everything in your life. One of my biggest pet peeves that I see about people that people complain about and people are whining about, well, my family did this. Well, my father left here. Well, my mother was this. Well, my husband or wife left me. Blah, 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 blah. Every single thing is your fault. And it's your fault because you control it. And it's your fault because you dwell on it. So if you dwell on it, and if you allow something from your past to continue to affect you in the future, whose fault is it? Is it still that person? Is that person still harming you? Your father left my father left when I was 9 years old. The next guy who I consider my stepfather killed himself when I was 14, 15, something like that. Could I have let that harm me and let that affect me? I did for several years. Don't forget I didn't have a father figure. So for several years that affected me. I was very sad. I had a lot of depressive issues when I was a young adult. Were they still doing that to me at that point? Or was my mind still wrapped in the issue? All that needed to happen was I needed to forgive the issue, accept that it happened, and move forward. So, if you dwell on issues, if you dwell on the past, if you keep blaming society, your past, your family, your spouse, your kids, your whatever, make it even more controversial. Your race, your gender, your sexual orientation, you keep blaming everything on that, you're always going to lose. Always. You have no excuse. You have really nothing to complain about. It's all your fault. I don't care where you're from. I don't care what language you speak. I don't care what color you are. I don't care where you started. It's your fault. So all you can do is fix it. So fix it. So change your mindset. Put yourself in a place where you know you can succeed. So if your mind is telling you, my father did this, cool. He's still not doing it. That was 20 years ago. But you're still letting it affect you. One of my favorite things I heard somebody say, my father did this. Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy. He did this. I'm like, damn, still? Like, when was that? Well, when I was 15. I'm like, that was 20 years ago. You're still letting that asshole do this to you after 20 years? That's your fault. That's not his. That's done. He's dead. He's gone. The guy was dead. He's gone. So you're still letting him affect you and dictate how you behave as a person right now. Your fault. So as soon as you accept that everything in your life right now, today, is your fault, you're going to succeed because you're going to stop putting self-imposed limitations. If you keep limiting yourself based on what you saw in the past or what somebody else did or what you did, forgive yourself, forgive other people, move on. Then you're going to start succeeding. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate you paying attention. I appreciate you talking in the comments. I appreciate you guys messaging me. I appreciate you guys sharing this. If you guys want to watch more of this content, take a click right here. You can get more videos.